Howdy YouTube! In today's video I am going to run through the agenda phase for Twilight Imperium version 4. Now the agenda phase is a tricky one for players to get the most benefit out of. It can be tough to swing things in your favor, especially in 6-player games where there are 5 other players who have their own agendas, so to speak. But throughout my experience, I believe I can shed some insight in how you can try and maneuver and leverage your position to try and make the most of the agenda phase. So I'm going to start by running through all 50 agenda cards, and then I will run through the various action cards which are related to the agenda phase, and finally I'll talk about a couple of the promissory notes as well. And during all this discussion, if I have any impromptu tactics or strategies which come to mind, I will discuss those or highlight those on the fly. So with all that said, let us begin. I'll probably create 3 piles for each of these agendas. A trash pile, a decent pile, and a good pile. A pile which is depending on how much the agenda can affect the game. The ones you need to watch out for, so to speak. So let's begin. The first one we have is Research Team Cybernetic. So there's 4 of these. There's 1 for each tech color. These are usually not that great, to be honest. I would say that yellow is probably the weakest of the 4, whereas blue and green tend to be particularly stronger, and red is probably better than yellow as well. Having said that though, all 4 of these agendas are not that great. So I'm going to put it in what we will call the trash pile. Okay, regulated conscription. So this halves the effectiveness of the amount of fighters and infantry you produce. This is quite brutal. It depends on what races are on the table, of course, and a lot of these agendas will tend to target specific races. But if there's a lot of fighter spam, infantry spam on the board, this is definitely something that's going to hurt those players. So I'm going to put it in the good pile. You know, this is a good agenda if it comes up. You know, it can really mess with people. Publicized weapon schematics. Yeah, so this is the one that's kind of the anti-Muat agenda. I hate this card, obviously, but you know, apart from me, if the embers aren't on the table, this loses a lot of value and becomes kind of meek, in all honesty. It's not completely trash. It's kind of okay. I'm going to put it in the middle, in the okay pile. This is obviously, if the embers are on the table, then this is probably up here. You know, it's going to, you know, really hamper them. For more than one reason. Both of these are very dangerous effects for the embers, you know, making them lose all their action cards or allowing everyone to research War Suns. Either of these are not great. If everyone can research War Suns, then the embers lose, their promissory note becomes basically useless, which is pretty painful, and of course losing all your action cards is not great either. But I will leave it here in the middle pile. The Crown of Thanos. So this allows rerolls for all your units, but if they miss on the rerolls, those ships get destroyed. This is okay. I'll put it in the middle. It's okay, but it's not like, it's not gonna warp the game too much or anything like that. It's not one of those where people are gonna just, you know, turn their heads and be like, whoa, we need to watch out for this. Put in the middle pile. Fleet regulations. So this is good. You can either reduce the fleet pool to 4, or everyone gains a token in fleet. This is nasty against most races, actually. Most races are not going to be happy with seeing this hit the table. So yeah, this is definitely one to watch out for. And it's really going to punish people who try and, you know, build massive fleets. The barony can kind of get away with it because they, even with this in play, they can still have a fleet of 6, which is more than enough in, you know, for most battles. Having 6 fleet is plenty. It should do you fine. But any other race, or dropping down to 4, the Embers are kind of okay as well. The Embers tend to have about, you know, 4 or 5 in fleet, and that's usually, you know, pretty solid for them anyway. But most other races, dropping down to 4 fleet, heading towards that mid-end game is pretty brutal. So this is definitely a powerful agenda. One to keep your eye on. New Constitution. So you can get rid of all the laws. Oh yeah, and then exhaust all planets in the home system. Oh, that's brutal. And against there's no effect. Okay, so this is gonna, it depends. Like, this is a powerful agenda, and it is dependent on what laws are already in play. That second effect, losing your home systems for a round, that is nasty. For that reason, I'm actually going to put it here. It is a little dependent on what laws are in play, but yeah, it's one to watch out for, in a sense. Miscount disclosed. So this basically means you have to vote on a law again. So yeah, this can be a frustrating card, especially if someone has managed to, you know, win a decent law, and then they can just lose it to this. It's going to be pretty painful. Again, it's dependent on what laws are in play. It's one you should be aware of, but it's not. Maybe we need 4 piles actually. Let's create a 4th pile. Stuff it. Why not? There. I think that should be okay. Research. Oh yeah. It's another of those research ones. Whatever. Warfare. Research. Whatever. Archive secret. Okay, this is good. Yeah, this is a good one. You know, secret objectives are a gateway to win the game. So being able to see more, draw more, is pretty huge. So this is going. It's subtle. It doesn't. It's a subtle thing in how it can, you know, give a player a better chance of winning. So I'm gonna put it in here in the sort of the third bet. So yeah, you can just go there. That should be fine. Executive sanctions. Okay. 3 action cards in the maximum. Otherwise, each player discards 1 random action card from their hand. It's decent. It's a decent agenda. Especially if, you know, people have hands like 7 action cards. Yeah, this is one to watch out for. But in the mid to late game especially. What else do we have here? Classified document leaks. Oh yeah, this is great. Yeah, you get to you can make a secret objective public. This is a fun card. This is a good one to come out. Yeah, I'm gonna put it here. It's a good one. That's a pretty good one. In fact, Yeah, let's move that there. That's a good one. Yeah, I think that's fine. Okay, let's move on. Judicial abolishment. Okay, so it basically gets rid of a law. So this is... Depends what... Again, it just depends what laws are in play. Seriously. Okay, yeah, let's just move on. Ah, yes! The nuke. Exarian artifact. This is amazing. Ah, this is such a great card. This is just going... I don't even need to talk about this. This is just amazingly good. If you see this, you should just leave it on top. Unless you hold the center, of course, then maybe not. But even if you do hold the center, it depends how much of a grip you've got. Because if you know this is coming up, you can just move off the center and then let the nuke happen. The nuke is fun. Do it for fun. But yeah, no, this is great. Conventions of War. Yeah, this can be brutal depending on the races on the table. Like, being able to prevent bombardment on cultural planets can really screw races like, you know, the Barony, the L1, the Embers, any race that's like all about, you know, the Dreadnoughts. Any ready, steady, dready race is not going to be happy seeing this hit the table. And it allows races like the Arborak, the Federation of Sol, the Yin Brotherhood, you know, races that can hold their planets. It just lets them hold their planets so much more effectively if this comes into play. So this is going here. This can be really nasty. Imperial Arbiter, yeah, this is insane. Being able to swap strategy cards, and it's unblockable. Whoever has this, it can't be blocked unless the law is removed from play. This is so insanely good. It's just going here. Strategy cards are vital to succeeding in Twilight Imperium. So anything that allows you to manipulate who gets what strategy cards is just ridiculously good. Shard of the Throne. Okay, so you get a victory point. It gets this is one to watch out for. It's just a victory point that starts flying around the board as people batter each other. This is great for races like Necrovirus, Mentak, and punch face races like the Barony, L1, Sardaknor. You know, people who like getting into fights. They want to see this hit the table. Mutiny. This is a fun one. And this is the only agenda in the deck. Of all 50 agendas, this is the only one where you have to put a vote in order to get the benefit of gaining a victory point. Or losing a victory point. If you abstain, or if you cannot vote on this agenda, you won't be able to gain any victory points off of this. So this one agenda is why it's a really good idea that no matter what the first agenda that gets flipped is, not to spend all of your votes on that first agenda, to keep at least one back, just in case this comes up. The odds of this coming up are, of course, very slim, so the advice I'm giving should be taken with a grain of salt. If the first agenda is something that you really want, or something that you really want to influence the outcome of, you know, by all means spend all your votes, but just know that you run the risk of potentially missing out on the victory point if this comes out. There's a couple of these initiative things where you basically choose a planet and you increase the influence and or resource by X amount. These are okay. They're not great. There's a couple. I think there's 3 in total. They're just going in the trash pile. It's whatever. Yeah, whatever. Minister of Industry. Minister of Industry. So basically, what this does is when you place a space dock, you can produce. So it's as if you've activated the system each time you place a space dock. So this is, I really like this card. Especially as the Embers. I really like this card. Being able to, you know, spend off the secondary of construction, place a space dock somewhere, and then immediately produce is pretty great. It's not bonkers crazy powerful by any stretch. I just have a bit of a personal bias on this card. I will leave it in the, you know, over here, second best pile. Wormhole Reconstruction. Okay, so either all the wormholes are either linked, or each player locks down the wormholes. Oh yeah, this is brutal. This is brutal with the Krius on the board. You can prevent them from moving out for a turn, which is just nasty. Yeah, so as the Ghost of Krius, you really want to watch out for. This is like your one. The Ghosts have a couple actually, but this is one of them. This is like an anti-Krius card. It's going to depend on the board state otherwise, but this can be pretty nasty. I'm going to put it in this pile. Holy Planet of the Ixth. Okay, so a cultural planet basically gets a victory point put on it. Yeah, this is dangerous. This is one. You know, anything that can gain you victory points is just going to go here. This is a dangerous card. Representative government. This is fun. Yeah, this is a fun one. I do like this. It's a dangerous card as well because no matter how much influence a particular player has, they suddenly are equal to everyone else. Oopsie daisy, sorry, keep the tripod a little. Oopsie daisy. I'm gonna leave this here. Wormhole Research, yeah, this is the other anti-Krius card. This is nasty for the Krius, so bad. This is like a game-ending card if the Krius get hit by this. So yeah, this is going here. This is dangerous. This is one you need to watch out for, have an awareness of, definitely. Shared Research, it's the nebulae thing. You can just move through nebulae without getting stuck. Each player places a command token in his home system. Oh wow, that against is brutal. What the heck? Oh my gosh. You lock down home if you go against. Oh man. The effect of the severity of this is going to depend where the nebula is, but most of the time this has come up, people just, you know, allow it to go through without too much impact. So I'm going to leave it. I'm going to leave it here. Potentially to be devastating though. Community formation. Okay, this card is nuts. I have another bit of a personal bias on this card. It is incredibly good. And the sole reason why this card is so good is because you can combine it with rider cards to basically force an outcome to go the way you predicted, so to speak. So let me just read this out for you. So before players vote on an agenda that requires a player to be elected, the owner of this card may discard this card to choose a player to be elected. Players do not vote on that agenda. So, how this works is an agenda gets flipped, riders are declared, and then, so let's just say for example, we'll take an extreme example with Imperial Rider. Some agenda gets flipped, one where you have to declare a player. Let's just find one really quickly. Yeah, this will do. This is fine. So doing this, you know, this has been flipped. You ask for vetoes, no one's vetoed, then riders get played. You go Imperial Rider on yourself, and then once all the riders are played, then you can discard committee formation, declare yourself the target. You get this card, and then you gain a victory point. So this is ridiculously good. So it's going in the very best pile. This is a card that you need to be watching out for. Because whoever has this card can just basically score whatever riders they want. So it's really, really dangerous. Minister of the Sciences. You don't have to spend resources to research. Oh wow, this is amazing. Yeah, this is going here. This is ridiculous as well. That is crazy good. You can just get 2 free technology if you take the primary, if you take the technology strategy card with this thing. So that is crazy. Demilitarized zone. Okay, so basically, you left a cultural planet. Everything gets bombed on that planet. All ground force, all PDS, all space, and the space dock if there is one. But then, basically, that planet is that player's. Whoever owns that planet, it's just theirs forever. They can't lose that planet unless this law gets destroyed. And the thing with this is you don't even have to vote anyone's planet. You can just vote a planet that hasn't been taken yet, and then whoever's closest to that planet is just never going to be able to take that planet. So this is pretty brutal, actually. Yeah, I'll put it here. I'll put it here. Oh, it's another one of those. Put that there. Oh yeah, this. Okay, so this is the only agenda where no matter what gets chosen, people lose all their trade goods. So if you have 10 trade goods and this comes out, regardless of the for or against, you are losing those 10 trade goods. Whether you gain 5 back or gain none back is a different matter. But this one agenda is a sole reason why you got to be a little bit careful hoarding trade goods for a long period of time. This is nasty. This is a very dangerous card, and it's one that you need to be on the lookout for, or factoring into consideration when making your plans with regards to trade goods. Public Execution. Again, this is a nasty, nasty card. And it's often the case that whoever's winning is probably going to get executed. It's just the way this card usually gets doled out. It's a very dangerous card. There's a couple of counters to it. But yeah. If this gets flipped and you're in the lead, expect to lose all your action cards. That's all I'm gonna say. Prophecy of the Ixth. Okay, so this is pretty good. So your fighters get a boost, but when you use production, you have to produce 2 or more fighters each time. I mean, this is amazing for the Nali Collective, and you know most races are going to want this card regardless. It's gonna go here. I'll put it here. Unconventional measures. Yeah, this is funny. So you can either try and get more action cards, but there's a risk that you could end up losing all your action cards. Yeah, this can be pretty nasty. It's probably one to watch out for. I'm gonna put it here. Minister of Commerce. The elected player gains this. Oh, okay, yeah. You're getting trade goods for you. Oh, this is pretty good. This is good. It's not. You usually get like 2 or 3 trade goods off of this, depending on how many neighbors you've managed to establish. You get 2 to 4 trade goods off of this each time. So this is a strong card. Yeah, this is a strong card. It's a dangerous card. Homeland Defense Act. When this comes into play, it's usually against is what gets voted. to weaken people's PDS networks. Put it here. Ah yes, Minister of War. So it gives you warfare, basically. You discard it and you get to use warfare, more or less. Yeah, this is very strong. This is very strong. Whoever has this is just, it's going to be very dangerous. Anti-intellectual revolution. Yeah, this is a nasty, nasty card. Especially if people have got greedy on tech, or you know, you're the Yona, in which case you're going to be greedy on tech regardless. Yeah, this is dangerous. This card is very, very nasty. It's definitely one you want to, you know, have an awareness of. Funnily enough, the Necrovirus can get around this because they gain technology, they don't research it. So this is great for the Necrovirus to see on the table. Enforced travel ban. Have no... Okay, so they either... The wormholes are closed off. Destroy each PDS in or adjacent. Yeah, this is nasty. Any sort of PDS race hates this card. Because more often than not, PDS networks will invariably be adjacent to wormholes. I've had this go off and I've lost all 6 of my PDS before. I do admit that was in part because the Ghosts of Creus placed wormholes near my home system, which kind of made me lose my remaining 2 PDS. But nevertheless, this card is nasty for people who like to go heavy on PDS, like the Turtles, for example. Minister of Peace, you get a ceasefire. Yeah, this is ridiculous. Ooh, easy. Get a ceasefire, basically. Universal ceasefire, one off. Minister of Exploration. So you get the Clan of Sar ability. You gain trade goods each time you take planets. Yeah, it depends on what race you are. How easy it is for you to expand out. In a 6-player game though, I'm gonna leave it. It is pretty good, but I'll put it here. Compensated disarmament. Oh yeah, this could be nuts. This card could be absolutely insane. Like, depending on the race, you get like a good 10 trade goods off this or something. It's crazy, 5 to 10 trade goods off this. Yeah, this card is crazy, crazy, crazy powerful in the right situations. It's one you want to be aware of, or it's one you want to, you know, be planning for. Maybe just dump a whole bunch of ground force on your home system. Even if it all dies, as long as you've got enough ships to protect yourself, you can build up your ground force again anyway. Arms reduction. Yep, so any Dreadnought cruiser heavy races, or particularly Dreadnought heavy races like the L1, the Barony, hate this card. This card is just brutal to those types of races. It's a very, very powerful effect. Yeah, this is good. This is really good. Minister of Policy, you get an extra action card. Yeah, it's decent. It's decent. It's not as powerful as some of the other ministers, but I'll put it in you know, the pretty good pile, I guess we'll call it. Incentive program. So you either get an extra stage 1 or extra stage 2. Yeah, this is pretty good. I'm going to leave it here. Swords to Plowshares. So this is similar to the other one, but you destroy half your infantry on all planets rounded up and gain a trade good for each one. The against is that every planet each player controls gains an infantry. Yeah, this is pretty crazy powerful as well. There can be some ridiculous plays with this. So yeah, this is a dangerous card. It's one to definitely watch out for. Seed of an Empire. Yeah, okay. This is dangerous. Most of the time, the player with the fewest victory points will gain a victory point off of this. So this is a powerful card, especially if the player with the fewest victory points is like, you know, not that far behind everyone else. This is dangerous. This is anything that can give victory points is just really dangerous. The Crown of Amphidia. Okay, so it's similar to the other one, but you have to take a planet in the home system to get the victory point back. So yeah, like I said, it's a victory card. It's a victory point card, so it's really dangerous. Like, and as before, punch face racers will want to see this. And finally, number 50, colonial redistribution. So what happens is the elected planet gets nuked of all units, and then whoever's in last place, or the person who got nuked picks a player who's in last place, and then they can take control of that planet. So this is a powerful card as well. It's another one of those underdog cards. So there's two underdog agenda cards. One of them gives a VP, and this is the other one. You get to take a planet. So it's another dangerous card again. So despite the agenda phase, you know, sometimes it seems that the agendas that come up are you know, not that great, not that influential on the game state. Having just done this analysis, in actual fact, looking at this here, 80% of the agendas, if not more, are quite dangerous or quite influential on the game state, quite impactful. And the other 10%, how many is there? 2, 4, 6, 8, 9. The other remaining 20% of the agendas are, you know, not that great. So bear that in mind. In each agenda phase, at least, well, 2 agendas get flipped. Yeah, you have to deal with 2 agendas each agenda phase. Unless the turtles or the veto gets played, or you know, anything like that. But yeah, you're seeing 2 agendas usually during each agenda phase, and 80% of the time, the agenda flipped should have an impact on the game, quite a you know, reasonable impact on the game. There's only in the rare circumstance, or roughly 20% of the time, for each agenda that's revealed, that it should just be some whatever agenda that no one really cares about. Which is a good thing, because you know, the agenda phase, you should be quite exciting. And something to bear in mind is, even in a 14-player game, where there's 9 turns, and assuming that politics is picked every turn, and each time a player picks politics, the 2 agendas they look at, they place at the bottom of the deck. And taking into account there's 3 agendas, I can't find them now, but there's 3 agendas that say if there's no laws in play, you know, you discard it and you flip another agenda. And given that there's 1 veto, which also makes you go through another agenda, in total, taking all that into consideration, you will go through 40 agenda cards. Which means whatever agendas get placed on the bottom of the agenda deck are never going to be seen again. Pretty much guaranteed. That's just guaranteed. The only way this becomes untrue is if the Yisha Kingdoms is on the table, and for whatever reason they end up burning through loads of agendas with their quash ability. That's the only way, and even with that, they would have to go through so many agendas for it to have any reasonable likelihood that any agendas placed at the bottom will resurface. So that's a really long-winded way of saying that whatever agenda gets placed on the bottom is never going to be seen again. So this is something that you should bear in mind. I'm going to give you an example. So normally, if you take politics and you get the two agendas, if one of them is going to impact the game, you normally leave it on top. Like, let's just go with, I can find it really quickly, the money one. The one where, yeah, that's it, economic equality. Let's just use this as an example. There's many others, but we'll just go with this. So let's just say, I don't know, turn one or something. Turn one, I've taken politics. I play politics, and this is one of the two that comes up. And I notice that we've got some money races on the table. You know, the Hakan's on the table, maybe the Mentak as well. You know, these are races that are very good at accumulating trade goods. So we take note of that. So rather than keeping this on top because it's quite an impactful agenda, I decide to put it on the bottom of the agenda deck. And now, of all 6 players, I am the only one who definitely knows that this is never going to be seen again. Which means I am free to hoard trade goods as much as I like. And whereas skilled players, like a skilled Hakan and a skilled Mentak player, should have some caution about this card. Even though the probability of this being flipped is very slim. But the fact is, there is a chance, from their perspective, there is a chance that this could come out later in the game. And if they're hoarding trade goods, they're going to be hit. So in this manner, you know, taking politics it's not always, you don't always want to put the impacting agendas on the top of the deck. Most of the time, yeah, you probably do want to. But if it's an early game and you see this, or you see maybe fleet regulations, could be another example. I can't find it, but the one that forces four command counters in the fleet pool. If you see that early game, for example, maybe you decide to put that on the bottom of the agenda deck, and then you know that you're safe to build up your command counters in fleet. But the rest of the table has to have that slight caution in their mind. If skilled players will have that sort of niggling thought in the back of their head that, oh, maybe I don't want to put too much into my fleet and build a massive fleet just in case this agenda flips. You can play these sorts of mind games, potentially. But like I say, it's a very slim chance that any one particular agenda gets revealed anyway. So most of the time, people probably aren't going to worry or concern themselves too much, but it's another way of sort of taking advantage of the agenda phase. Putting impactful agenda cards on the bottom so that you know that agenda is never going to come up and you're safe to play into the negative effects of that card because it's just never going to come up. Whereas the rest of the table has to or should have some sort of caution around that. So let's put all these agendas aside and let's go through these lovely action cards, and we will start with the riders. So there's 8 rider cards, 1 for each strategy card, and it should be fairly obvious to say that the best way to utilize these rider cards is to wait for a for or against agenda, and then you do 1 on the for, 1 on the against. That way, no matter what gets voted, no matter what happens, you're getting a benefit. This is probably the best way of using your rider cards. Try and collect a pair, and then hedge your bets on a for and against agenda. So I'll quickly rank these in terms of how powerful these agendas are. These two are top dog. This is like second tier, second best sort of thing. Diplomacy Rider has a lot of potential, I will say that. Construction Rider is like in a league of its own. Something like this, roughly speaking. Roughly speaking. But let's talk about these two. These two are so ridiculously powerful that you should consider playing a sabotage if either of these get played. They're just way too powerful for what they can do. You know, gaining a victory points is ridiculous. You know, taking the speaker and 3 action cards lets this player, you know, pick Imperial on their next turn, potentially. Depends on where they are on the board and stuff, but it can lead to that sort of thing. And even if it doesn't, you know, being able to pick first is just, you know, such a powerful advantage. If these hit the board, you know, you should definitely try and discourage. I mean, the Imperial Rider is a really good discouraging card as well. Like, if you hold this and an agenda comes out, or even Politics Rider as well, and an agenda comes out that, like, let's just say public execution or something, or just something that you don't want to go through. You don't want a particular outcome to happen. You can place these two on the outcome, on the undesirable outcome, and that is usually enough leverage for people to be like, okay, yeah, we're gonna vote the other way because we don't want to give this person the VP, and we don't want to give this person the speaker. I've seen exceptions. There are definitely exceptions. I've seen exceptions in games. I've witnessed this where, you know, people have still voted through and then they've gotten the point or whatever. But it's only happened like once, I think, in all the games that I've played. So yeah, these two are really good to deter stuff. They're very powerful, and if these get played, you can strongly consider sabotaging them. The rest of the riders are not as impactful as these two. These two are like in a league of their own. The rest of them, yeah, there's some pretty powerful effects there, but yeah, they're just not quite in the league of these. So yeah, the best way to use riders usually is to, you know, hedge your bets if you have 2, or the other way is to hold back on your riders and try and wait for someone to play one, and then react accordingly. You either jump on the bandwagon or you place one against, on the opposite thing, for or against. But yeah, riders on for and against is the best way to use them. Okay, let's have a look at some of these other action cards. Okay. So bribery is a decent way to swing a vote in your way. As long as you've got TGs, especially if the vote's close and you only have to spend like 1 or 2 TGs to swing a vote, then, you know, this becomes especially powerful then. And it could be a nice ace up your sleeve to hold on to. It's similar to Distinguished Counselor, actually. You know, being able to swing a vote in your favour can, you know, make or break your position on the board, really. It really can, depending on what the agenda is. But yeah, Distinguished Counselor is more powerful if you are the speaker or the further down the voting order that you are. Whereas bribery, it doesn't really matter where you are. You can be first person to vote, and because you have to wait until the speaker's voted to play this card. Ancient Burial Site is okay. I think the card's a bit naff, but just remember you have to play this at the very beginning of the agenda phase, before the first agenda's flipped. I remember one game I had this in my hand, and every agenda, there's like 3 agenda phases in a row or something, that I just forgot to play it. Because I just missed the timing, and just forgot to play it. It was so frustrating. You would not even believe. But yeah, it's okay. Veto is a fun card. This is a nice ace in the hole to hold on to, especially if you're in a strong position, because when you're in a strong position, people are going to try and mess with you during the agenda phases. So, having veto, having a ticket out is really nice. Repeal Law, again, this is decent. It's a stall, which is always good, and depending, in the most powerful use of this law is to get rid of one of those laws that gives someone a VP. You just take that off the table, and you rob and you take a VP off someone. That is brutal, and it's probably the best use of Repeal Law. Otherwise, you want to use this obviously on an agenda that's impacting you. Maybe it's the anti-intellectual revolution one. Maybe it's the fleet limitation one. Whatever it is. Assassinate representative. So you've got to be careful with this card because because it has the same timing as the rider cards. Sorry, Well, the point is you've got to be careful with this card because if you assassinate someone who was planning on playing a rider anyway or playing a veto, then you've kind of just burnt this card. So a little bit of caution with that, but otherwise you should be okay with using this. It's an okay card. And I think I've mentioned this in another video, but with confusing legal text, it's only really good for the public execution agenda. So the card, it's fantastic to have if you hold on to it and public execution comes up, definitely. And you're a prime suspect to be hit by that agenda, but otherwise, it's not that great. So yeah. I guess on the rare instance that someone gives you one of those VP cards and you don't want to have it because you don't want to have the extra aggression drawn towards you, it could be good for that as well, I suppose. But really, in most circumstances, it's really only, fully good or always going to be good to protect yourself against public execution. So let's put these action cards aside. And the final thing that I really want to talk about are the political favour and political secret. So this political favour is only if the totals are on the table. If they are and you want to sort of gain an advantage in the agenda phase, you should try and buy this off them. If that's sort of your play style. It just depends. It depends. If you can get this off the turtles, it's a great sort of insurance policy to use during the agenda phase in case some stupid agenda comes up that ruins your day or whatever. And then another one I want to talk about is political secret. So there are strategies where if you want to gain an advantage during the agenda phase, you can try and buy off as many political secrets from other players as you can. This could be a sort of a strategy that Hakan could use. They could just try and buy 2 or 3 political secrets, and then when a really impactful agenda comes out, suddenly half the board can't even vote or play any riders. But yeah, if you're political secret tends to be the weakest promissory note. So you usually don't have to pay too much to get them from other players as well. And given the swingy nature of the agenda phase, you know, political secrets could be game-breaking or utterly useless. It just depends, really. But yeah, it's another strategy if you want to try and, you know, leverage an advantage during the agenda phase, is to try and buy off as many of other people's political secrets as you can. And that's it for this video. I think that's just about everything I wanted to cover. I hope you've enjoyed it. Mission complete. Signing out.